Hey guys, what's up? It's Brandon Stover, and today I want to talk about being brutally fucking honest. So the big question is this: how are millennials like you and I, who refuse to accept the American dream template that the schools and our parents have tried to hand down to us, but looking to escape the rat race? How do we shift our mindset in life to reach success and find our happiness? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brandon Stover, and I'm an entrepreneur who is going from zero to success and sharing every one of my secrets along the way in order to inspire you to defy your odds. Welcome to the Hustle of Happiness podcast. So this podcast is called Hustle and Happiness, and it's twofold because I want to show you the real behind the scenes of what it means to be an entrepreneur, to become successful, and the idea that maybe there is a possibility that I fail and never reach the top level of success. As well as I want to show you how to be happy in life along the way, and in the fact that along that journey, in pursuing that that you want to achieve most, that you're going to get happiness within that. And one of the things I want to talk about today kind of leans into both, because it hits the elements of not only in business life, but in every element of your life, and that's being truly honest. And I was listening to a podcast by Tom Bilyeu, and I had started from the very beginning, and so this podcast had probably been recorded sometime last year. I believe it was 2017, but they were doing a Valentine's Day special, and he and his wife got on there. And usually Tom Bilyeu is interviewing all kinds of different entrepreneurs, but in this episode, him and his wife interview each other. And one of the things that they asked each other, and they do this all the time, is, what do you expect from me as a wife? What do you expect from me as a husband? And I found that amazing. And my wife and I's anniversary is coming up, and I said, well, this is something I want to do every year, because as a person, you're ever changing, you're ever growing, and you're never going to stay the same. And so the person that we married, a year ago, this is going to be our 1-year anniversary coming up, may not be the same person in 10 years. And I want to make sure that our expectations of each other are always there front of mind, and so we know. And so I came home and I had said I'd listen to this podcast because I thought it was really cool what they were doing, and I said I'd like to do it. And I said, so what do you expect from me as a husband? And she told me what she expected, and in return she asked me, what do you expect of me as a wife? And one of the things that I said was, for you to be brutally fucking honest to me. And I said that as you go out in life, people put on face and kind of hide who they truly are, not always in a maleficent way, in a way to hurt you, but really trying to protect you. And so they never really tell you truly how they feel. And so I said, if I encounter that every single day, I want to come home, and I want the one person that I'm supposed to spend my life with to always be telling me the brutal, honest truth. And I don't care if it's, your face looks fucking ugly today because your beard's sideways, or it's, hey, you really fucking hurt me the other day, or whatever. Just, tell me up front. And I started thinking about that, and I was telling her that is something I wanted to do as well. I wanted to start being more honest with other people, and truly letting out who I am, and telling people what I think. And I realized as I thought about that more, that oftentimes in life you kind of project or ask for what you want, because you're doing it yourself. And so what do I mean by that? Well, as I looked into it, asking that I wanted her to be brutally fucking honest to me is because I wanted myself to be brutally fucking honest. I just recently watched the documentary of Tony Robbins, I'm Not Your Guru. And one of the things, I was sitting there watching it, and I could feel like the emotions coming from watching it, and I realized that one of the things I had done in life is cut off my emotions and didn't express them, and I wasn't ever being honest fully and really living those emotions. And so in our pursuit of happiness, you can't ever fully feel happiness until you feel all the other emotions. As the human, our brain has two parts. It has the logic side and it has an emotional side. And one of the great things about being a human is how much emotion we have, because that's pure energy. That is the thing that has helped us evolve through time. When you were a caveman and there was a bear or a snake or something, fear, the emotion of fear came in so that you could readily either fight it or run away from it. The emotion of love and joy came so that we could reproduce and continue to grow our species. And so all of these emotions create energy in your body, and it's what helps to push you forward, to drive you, to make you act upon things. And in modern day life, we do all these things to numb our emotions or even them out so that we never feel pain. And I had noticed that I had done that growing up. My mom was a single mom, and my dad wasn't always around. And so something that I had done was realize that I had to be the man of the house. And to me, I thought then that being a man was basically putting on this suit of armor and going out into the world and fighting off whatever you had to. And, not just physically, I'm not going out and fighting dragons, but emotionally and everything else that the world throws at you. And so putting on that piece of armor, I had started to cut my emotions, start to basically even everything out. And so you never really feel the highs or the lows because you try and avoid pain, because you got to be strong for someone else. And that was my mother. I had to be strong for my mother because I was the man of the house. And so recently I've realized that I've let that continue. I have kind of curbed my emotions, and it's hard because then you never truly say, you never be honest with what you feel. And when you do that, you can't create full relationships with people. And so obviously that's a huge part of your life, and that completely affects if you're going to be happy or sad. And if you are cutting your emotions, you can't even feel those. And so, how are you gonna feel happiness? How are you gonna know it's happiness if you're cutting your emotions? As well as, how are you gonna know happiness if you've never felt sadness, or you never felt anger? Or you have to feel all of those things, and you have to use them as that energy. One of the beautiful things about the mind is we also have the logic. And so when we take the logic side of our mind, of our brain, and those feelings come in as energy, you have to realize that that is energy in your body, and it's your logic side of your brain that gets to decide what to do with that energy. So somebody could come and they can make you really sad, and some shitty things are happening in your life, but that is an energy. And if you decide that you're going to use that to be nicer to other people, or you're going to use that to change the world, or you're going to use that to reach your goals, or whatever, you take that energy and you move it forward, you take it out and basically use that to drive you. And you can use any of the energies, and that's why you should never cut off any of the emotions that you're feeling. Anger, sadness. I mean, when you feel anger, you can get fucking pissed off at things and use that to drive you forward. Like, instead of dwelling on it and sitting there inert, that's when emotions really take you over. And when you get depressed or you become, a maniac because you're so angry, so you have to let those out and propel forward. And so then what does this have to do with business? Well, it's twofold. A, if you're using that energy to basically drive you forward and to do things and to act and create relationships, then you're gonna move forward. You are no longer sitting there because you can't, because there's so much energy there. The second thing is no matter what we're doing in life, there's other people around us. That's just the way it is. You're going to have to interact with other people. You're going to have to build relationships. You're going to have to basically be a human and interact with other humans. That's life right there. And so if you can't build relationships, if you can't be really truthful with people in building relationships, you're never going to make any connections, anything that will either bring you success or bring you happiness. As well as if you are selling a product or service, like let's get down to the nitty gritty. If you are selling something, you are not just, selling it to a computer, you are selling it to another person. You are a human, you are selling to another human, you are exchanging value to another human. And as we know, the brain is both logic and emotion. And there are plenty of studies out there and research that shows when we buy something, it's not a logical thing. It comes very much from emotion. We are touching in on people's emotions when they buy. It's logic that comes later after we bought the thing that basically judges it and says, oh, that was a good decision in buying this, and we come up with a bunch of reasons or whatever our brain likes to say. But in the moment, we probably bought it on some emotion. Say it was a car or your house, and you think, it's going to make you look cooler, or there's some sort of status value, or you're doing it because you love your family or whatever. There's some sort of emotion there, right? You might be buying the car because you want to feel better than your neighbor or whatever, keeping up with the Joneses or whatever. There's an emotional side to that. And when you realize that when you're selling to people, you're selling to an emotion, you have to realize that you have to get into that emotion. You have to break through to that person, to their core, and make them believe that your product or service is going to better their life, that when they buy this, they are going to be a better person, or they are going to be happier, or whatever. And when you realize that, you have to start playing on that emotional level. And if you're cutting yourself off, if you're curbing, you're never showing your emotion, then how are you going to connect with another person on an emotional level and ultimately give your good or service to them? And so I realized that I'd been doing this, and something that I want to do with you guys through this podcast is absolutely be honest all the time, and never want to lie to you that I'm a super successful entrepreneur or that I'm doing crazy things if I'm not. As well as show you the highs and lows and the breakthroughs that I have, like I had today, that it seems so simple, like, oh, of course, be who you are, be truthful. But I mean, you got to be absolutely brutally honest with other people and with yourself. I had to be honest with myself that I'm cutting out my emotions and, trying to battle armor against the world. But I don't necessarily have to do that when it's better to share with the audience, because that's when they're going to connect most. So I hope you guys found some real value out of this, and just be honest with yourself. Like, if you can't begin to be honest with other people, start with yourself first. Because one of the things that I know, I spend a lot of time up here in my mind, is that we are the ones that create the biggest lies to ourselves. A lot of times it's not people lying to us, but rather us lying to ourselves in what we're capable of, what our actual skill level is, what our relationships look like, what we're doing in our life. When we actually start looking at it and truly being honest and looking at those things, it's amazing what you can turn around once you figure that out and start being brutally fucking honest with you and the rest of the world. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I hope you find value out of it. I hope you guys have a great day, and just go out there and be brutally fucking honest. All right, later, guys. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the behind-the-scenes look at our entrepreneur's journey. If you want to get more secrets to becoming an entrepreneur and pursuing your happiness, then visit www.hustleandhappiness.com. Join us again next time, and remember, you are just one decision away from your happiness.